right, so I'm going to start fairly high level. The retail sales report came out. Consumer spending is pretty well, I would say. And yet our grocery bills are still getting higher and higher. So I'm curious, what are you seeing with your consumers and how they're responding to the macroeconomic environment?
Okay. Maybe I can take a step back and answer that in a little bit of a broader way.
Sure.
For years now, this is not a new problem. Cost of living is going up every single year. We all live in New York. If you live in LA, you live in San Francisco, you live in Chicago, it feels like every single year you're just spending more and more money. And outside of this venture capital room, people are generally making the same amount of income every year. I mean, it is so hard to get ahead. You do everything right. You go to college, you take out the student loans, you graduate, you get a great job, you work the 12, 14 hours a day, and you look at your bank account at the end of the month, and it's like, how the hell are you supposed to get ahead, right? And then on top of that, you've got rent prices going up, like outrageously high. You've got groceries going up. I can't get a Lyft ride for under $25 from like neighborhood to neighborhood in New York these days. And so you got to ask yourself, is it really the like rinky-dink spend that people are all investing in, their consumers are trying to spend their money, or can we create value for people from their biggest expenses, whether that's groceries, whether that's housing, whether that's, everyday gas, transportation, et cetera. And I think that is one of the core things that's missing. And the reason we started this 4 or 5 years ago was I couldn't stand every venture pitch I was getting to look at, here's some new crypto kitty thing, here's some new like electronic toaster, here's some new juicer. Like these are like small categories compared to student loans and housing and groceries and everyday problems, right? And so as a room of capital here, if you can start with what are the big problems facing real people in this country and how do we actually solve them, like that's, I think, where we can really make an impact.
I mean, you mentioned another point, which is student loans. That's coming. Payments are resuming this month. How are you helping? I mean, how do you view your platform as helping consumers? I guess with that.
Yeah. Does everybody here know what Bilt is? Just a quick show of hands. Probably not. So would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a step back. As Laura said, people pay rent every single month. There's 109 million people in this country paying rent. It's their single biggest expense. Paying rent does nothing to build your credit, which is kind of crazy when you think about you signed a 12-month, $30,000, or in New York, $60,000 annual contract, and at the end of the year, you have nothing to show for it. You get no rewards. I can buy everyone a round of drinks and we'll earn points and miles to book a flight, but you pay your rent, you get nothing. And after 12 years of renting, you're no closer to home ownership. The whole thing makes no sense, right? And so we said, can we take the biggest spend category in the country and can we make it something that actually rewards consumers and gets them ahead? So today, Bilt is the payments and rewards platform for almost all the major multifamily and single-family rentals companies in this country. If you go to pay your rent, and many of you that live at rental apartments in New York probably use Bilt, you pay your rent through Bilt. For the first time ever, everybody who pays their rent builds their credit with all 3 credit bureaus for free. You earn the most valuable points and miles in the country with every rent payment. We've partnered with over 100 airlines, hotels, e-commerce platforms. So when you pay your rent, you're getting United miles, American miles, British Airways miles, Emirates miles, Virgin miles, all of that instantly. And we spent 18 months in Washington, D.C. changing the regulations so that for the first time, paying your rent actually boosts your credit and qualifies you for a Fannie, Freddie, or FHA mortgage. And more importantly, you can use those points as an eligible source of funds on a down payment for the first time. So just by paying your rent, tens of millions of Americans will now have a path to homeownership. Tens of millions of Americans can finally go on that extra spring break trip or that trip to Europe for the summer just because you paid your rent. And if people continue to trust us on earning on rent, what we've now seen, which is super exciting, is we're able to expand that to the other big categories in life and getting them something back, getting them value back on their dining, on their transportation, on their groceries. We want to figure out student loans, right? There's so much we can do for this population who are, working hard and doing all the right things, but just having a hard time getting ahead.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about kind of the benefits that you're able to provide through this?
So if you guys have ever had a Marriott Bonvoy account or a credit card program or any of these things, right? So our first thing was start with the biggest expense, rent. We made it so that you can earn all those things we just talked about, credit building, rewards, path to home ownership. We made that possible for people to earn on rental homes at any home across the country. Okay? There was two parts to doing that. One, we built the largest network of real estate companies across the country. So just to give you some stat, like if you walk around New York, you'll see on the front of apartment buildings a big sign that says member of the Bilt Alliance, kind of like Marriott Bonvoy on a St. Regis hotel. Just today, we only launched 18 months ago. Aside from doing over $15 billion of spend a year and all of that stuff, which we'll talk about, we have today more apartment buildings branded with Bilt on the entrance than every hotel under the Marriott umbrella combined. Okay. So that's one way. You live at those buildings, doesn't matter whether you pay by ACH, debit card, credit card, Bilt card, doesn't matter, you get rewards. We then worked with the banks and the payment networks and said, guys, there's still $500 billion spent on rent, and almost none of that is going on the card rails, right? Why don't we create a product that creates real value for customers rather than race to the bottom 100,000 point sign-up bonuses and throw cash at people, like create lasting value. And so we bid out the banks and the payment networks. We partnered with MasterCard and Wells Fargo and created the Bilt MasterCard. Think of it like an Amex Platinum or Chase Sapphire card, but it's the only card that also lets you earn points on rent at any rental home. In fact, even if your landlord is old school and only takes a check, you can pay with the card in the app, and MasterCard will send your landlord a check for you, so you still get the points and the benefits, and you can pay your rent. And that alone, I mean, just, again, 18 months, if you look at the last quarterly filings, the Bilt card already makes up 12 to 15% of all new credit cards at Wells Fargo every single month with zero marketing dollars, right? That's because you solve a real problem that affects real people.
And you keep adding to that, right? I saw that this month you launched Bilt Experiences. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I mean, look, for us, if American Express's brand as a company is about, we're super exclusive, here's how you tell everyone how rich you are, right? Bilt's brand is, how do you live your best life doing what you already do, right? You pay rent, it's time to get value back because you're a smart customer who wants to live an aspirational life, right? And so with us, we thought about what are the things that matter to this largely 21 to 35-year-old consumer living in major cities across the country. And we started off with the properties and earning points on rent, building your credit, earning points on rent, all the free travel, et cetera. We then launched Neighborhood Rewards, where we took thousands of merchants across the country and we turned buildings into merchant acquirers, essentially. Right? Every apartment building has like a 10% discount at the tap house down the street. We turned those into a Neighborhood Rewards program where instead now you get rewards as a resident when you go shop or spend at that tap house restaurant automatically with any Amex, Visa, or MasterCard card. You get rewards, merchants reach local customers, and the property actually makes money on that. And then we said, well, now you're getting rewards in your life. How do we actually build cool experiences around it so you get to do cool things? And so actually next week, you'll see, we're launching another whole cool wave of like dining experiences, travel experiences. Last month, people got to go to sporting events all across the country as part of paying rent. We have a fun game show every month that you can play, and if you win, you get free rent. I mean, like, you gotta make it fun, right? And taking a shitty experience like rent and making it rewarding and fun, I think is part of how you build a trusting brand that people stay close to. And I think building great brands is often the over-delivering on the expectation versus your customer experience. Right? It's really hard to build a great brand next to a company like Apple where your standard is already here. If we can deliver a standard and brand experience for rent that's at that level, but your expectation is down here, I mean, no one's ever liked paying rent before, right? Now you make it fun. Like you look on Twitter and all these, I don't know if people use Twitter anymore, but like any social platform, for the first time you're seeing people excited about rent day because we made rent day like a fun day. So I don't know, that's a big part of how we launch experiences.
I mean, I can see the appeal for consumers. How, what's kind of the reward for your partners? Now, I know you partner with hotels, booking service. I think it's Point on Me.
Yeah. Well, so let's take a step back. I think on that part, the idea of Bilt is not revolutionary. We are definitely not the first people to think of, God, I wish I could get points on rent. What makes these things hard, I mean, the hardest thing, what's that quote? Like the hardest things to do are the most obvious ideas, right? And so here you have a challenge where to pull this off, there are 3 massive ecosystems that have to come to the table. And getting those ecosystems built independently is hard. Getting all 3 to come together in a way that's a win-win-win across that chessboard is even harder. For us, we had to bring properties, real estate owners and operators. We had to bring a rewards ecosystem. That's every airline, hotel. You can't be half as good. You have to be better than American Express. You have to be better than Chase. You have to be better than the airline and hotel programs if you're going to be a new entrant. And by the way, pick any blog or independent ranking you like and go look it up right now. Bilt is the only program in 2 decades ranked higher in value than Amex, Chase, Citi, Wells, and any airline or hotel program in points, right? But you have to build an ecosystem. And then you have to build an ecosystem of merchants, right? Like that's what made Visa and MasterCard $400 billion companies. But you have to have enough alignment of interests to be able to scale to thousands of merchants and millions of apartments and hundreds of rewards partners. For us, it was about making sure everybody makes money. And it's kind of that simple. Visa and MasterCard run the greatest mafia of all time. Everybody gets cut in, right? And so what we looked at is, as a resident, how do I create value for you by getting rid of customer acquisition costs for certain partners? As you spend at local partners, how do I take things like local discounts and convert that into rewards that then allows us to cut in properties so they're making money, which then gets properties incentivized to sign up all their local restaurants, grocery stores, dog walking services, et cetera. And it becomes this kind of fulfilling circle. And then for rewards, nobody has been able to tap into rent. So it doesn't matter if you're United Airlines or you're American Airlines or you're Emirates or whoever it might be, there's $600 billion total rent in the United States alone spent a year that no program is able to make any revenue off of outside of just paying the properties. And now if you're an airline, customers are earning rewards and they're getting to spend that on your airline. That's new revenue, right? For the properties, you're saving huge amounts of costs on leasing incentives and making money on local merchants. For local merchants, you're reaching local customers more efficiently and effectively than like these ad hoc, one-pagers and elevators. So it's just, I'm simplifying a little bit, but everyone's got to get paid. That's the moral of the story, right? And if you can build that ecosystem, the moat around it is really hard to penetrate because somebody can try and compete on payments or on local commerce or on a reward, but competing on the ecosystem, like, good luck.
I mean, speaking of that, you provide all of these benefits for consumers, and you also don't charge a fee for it as well, right?
Right. So there's no fee for consumers on any of this stuff, right? But I think that's the magic. Is someone said, follow the money, right? We don't reinvent the wheel. There's nothing in what we're doing that I would actually call breakthrough innovation. We're taking existing models and figuring out how to put it together in a way that newly creates value across ecosystems in the benefit of the consumer.
So I guess my question is, how are you making money? How are you paying yourself?
And this is what's really fun. we get paid on every single dollar of spend by all these customers. That's the exciting part. We are ultimately, like MasterCard and Visa, a spend payments business. And so when you're paying your rent, depending on which stakeholder it is, whether it's the property, the consumer, or the banks, they pay us a percentage of that. When you go to the local restaurant, whether you swipe your Bilt credit card or you swipe your American Express at Carbone, who's part of Neighborhood Rewards, the merchant pays us money, right? When you go and sign up for a loyalty program, we make money, right? And so all of these ultimately come down to, can I capture wallet share, irrespective of what credit card or debit card you use? That's a big misunderstanding, by the way, is a lot of people think Bilt is a credit card company. That's less than 20% of our users, right? Everybody who rents at a related property uses Bilt. Everybody who rents at an Avalon property uses Bilt. 80% of those guys are paying with debit cards, credit cards, ACH, et cetera. But when they go and they spend at their local merchants, when they go in and spend on rent, we're still collecting a percentage of that spend through our merchant network and our rewards program.
All right, I think we're kind of have to wrap up here, but I'm curious, what can we kind of expect down the pike?
You want to give away all the secrets. Look, I think what's exciting is we've done for rent, taken a category of spend and redesigned the customer experience to win that wallet share to go through Bilt. I think one of the misconceptions, there's two big misconceptions on fintech. One is, have a great product and they will come. I don't buy it. You have to have a distribution channel that will scale for a long time, right? People are constantly moving in and out of apartment buildings and signing up, right? Number two is, as you look at this product, you can't win wallet share by just saying, oh, I put a card in your wallet or you signed up for my account, because there'll always be something better and different. And so it can't be a race to the bottom like the banks do on 5x on this or 20x on Y. When it comes to paying rent, yes, you get points and rewards, but you're also building credit, and you're building a path to home ownership, and you're getting fun rent day experiences and rent day benefits, and it's just better paying rent with Bilt. We're doing the same thing for dining. You'll see tomorrow, you can now literally open your Bilt app, and you'll see all your local restaurants with availability from Resi, Open Table, 7 integrated in one place. Pick a restaurant of your choice, book it, you'll earn rewards automatically, and when you check in, right, you'll even be able to start getting things like perks, like free rounds of drinks automatically pushed to your table, extra benefits, all of that because dining with Bilt is just better. Right? Same thing with groceries, same thing with transportation, same thing with gas. How do we win the 4, 5, 6 categories that matter most? And that's our game.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.